On this episode of the Spiritual Gangsta Certified podcast, we can't afford to allow ourselves to get caught up in sensationalism in such a way that we lose our own sense of integrity. And integrity says we're not going to levy claims, definitive claims against anybody that we can't prove.
You're now tuned into Spiritual Gangsta Certified with Illy Vish.
Hey, everybody. I know it's been a while since you had consistent episodes from me. And I know I keep saying I'll be more consistent and then turn around and I'm not more consistent. But I think I found my groove. And I am happy to be back with this episode. Now, I don't even know as I'm recording it what it's going to be titled yet because there's so much to talk about. Things going on, just in general in the world, things going on in the US, things going on astrologically, things going on in Hollywood and the music industry. So this might pretty much be a freestyled episode, y'all. So I'm just gonna say hold on to your hats, but stay tuned for this week's episode of the Spiritual Gangsta Certified podcast. Hey y'all, how you doing? It's been an interesting time in the world and there's so much to talk about. I can't even really say I know where I'm going to start. All I do know is that 2024 is almost over, and what a wild ride of a year it has been. I don't know about you guys, but I went through it this year, not in necessarily negative ways, but there was just a constant influx of different things happening, and not even directly to me, around me, with people around me, and in the world. And I just, I'm not even really sure what to say about all of that in like one statement, because it's been so much that it's really hard to like sum it up. But I'm recording this on December 17th, 2024. Right now, Cancer is rising. And the moon is at 29 degrees of Cancer. This feels almost like on time for this because I do care about people. And a lot of what's been going on has made it hard in some fashion, I guess, for a lot of people out here to actually care about other people. And I mentioned this on the page the other day. If you're not following the Spiritual Gangsta Certified Facebook page, please get over there. I won't even lie to y'all. That is where I have my largest engagement. So I tend to post over there more than anywhere else. However, I just told everybody in a post, I often say I love you with 3 green hearts. And when I say I love you to human beings, any human being, I mean it. Love is not mutually exclusive with like. Are there a lot of human beings that I don't like? Yeah. But because of their humanity and the fact that they're on this journey too, and we all have struggles and difficulties and challenges to face, I do love human beings. I love every single human being. Now, I wanted to start off, I think, primarily about talking about major things that have been happening and kind of give some insight, I guess, into navigating some of it. Now, granted, everybody's different, and because everybody's different, it's not easy to give like a prescription for the collective and think that it's just going to be a one size fits all fix. However, I think it's interesting sometimes that, you know, when we're so used to what our life is like and what our environment is like, we forget that the world is bigger than our block, our town, the city, wherever we come from. And sometimes the thinking that we can get stuck in is based upon the routine of our block, our city, our job, our life, or whatever. And I always find that severely fascinating for many reasons. There's so many cultures, countries, different types of people. You know, what may be going on primarily in your face, of course, that's going to be important to you, especially if it impacts, I almost said infects, oh my God, your life directly. People are going to care more about the things that directly have to do with them. However, what can get forgotten about is where you are right now isn't where you'll always be. And I don't just mean that in a physical sense. I mean that in an emotional sense and a mental sense. You know, the way that you think today may not necessarily be how you think tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now. And a lot of times, in order for us to get out of the space that we are in, you have to be open to other ways of doing things, other ways of thinking about things, and you do have to change your environment. Now, we've had access to the internet for how long now, y'all? How long? People are literally walking around with a device that gives them access to the world. I can't imagine being a teenager right now, because when I was 15, it was 1995, and we did not have such devices. But I'm bringing this up to say that via that little device in your pocket that can give you access to the entire world, basically, people still choose only to engage with the stuff that they're used to engaging with. People talk about the algorithms all the time. What are your algorithms showing you? Mine change a lot for the reason that I'm a curious person. I tend to go down rabbit holes. I don't like echo chambers. I like hearing other people's ideas. I like considering other people's ideas. But, you know, it's cliched almost now to tell people they have access to the entire world in their pocket. Everybody's saying it, but the thing about it is, though that may be true, there are some people that act like they can't open themselves up to a whole different level of insert thing here. You don't have to be stuck. Sometimes it takes a small spark of interest, a subject, a song, a person, or whatever, an idea, to light a flame within you that changes everything, that burns everything down so that you're able to build something new. With that in mind, a couple things stood out to me. I mean, of course, now Saturn's back direct in Pisces. And we did a Mercury in Pisces moment. We did a Saturn in Pisces seminar, me and Marie Russo. We are the Astro G ladies. Hey. Not too long ago, a couple weeks back. And I will link in the description the link to that. We did it on Facebook Live. That's not typically how I do my seminars. They're usually in a closed environment. But I thought it was a good idea to do it that way to reach as many people as possible. It's also up on YouTube. And there's a workbook that accompanies it, and I'll give the link to that as well. Saturn has been particularly busy, it feels like. What are we talking about when we're talking about Saturn, particularly in Pisces? We're talking about the planet of responsibility in a sign that rules. We're going to insert a couple things here. Music. Isolation. Fantasy. Hollywood. Glamour. I would even say mental illness. Right? Solitude. Understanding that everything is connected. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could opt to look at a planet's current transit based on what the things that planet and the sign that it's in represent. I do want to say this. Yes, Saturn is looked at as a malefic. So whenever people see it, they like scream and run. And I get it. But I have great respect for Saturn. So if we just use the theme, I guess, for Saturn of taking seriously, all of the things that I just mentioned that were Piscean, how fitting is that? Number one, there are a lot of allegations that are starting to spring up yet again. And I remember when Jupiter was in Scorpio, what was that, like 2017? That's when the Me Too movement started. We first started en masse seeing allegations against especially famous people coming out. A lot was revealed then, right? And now, and this has technically been going on ever since the video came out of Diddy, who I don't like calling him Diddy. Okay. I'm a 80s child, meaning I was born in the 80s, but my teenage years were in the 90s. So when I think of Diddy, I think of him being called Puff or Puffy. So that may be how you hear me refer to Sean Combs. Okay. A lot of allegations since the video came out from that hotel of him attacking Cassie. I was not surprised, and I don't say this to diminish what Cassie or any victims of Puffy went through. It's more so like there was something confirmed within me about just this weird vibe that I've had about Puffy for years. Now, granted, Bad Boy was a significant part of golden era hip hop. So in the 90s, right? And a lot of y'all, I don't know how many of y'all know, but I used to rap. I mean, I still do rap. I just don't pursue it as a career. I started like when I was 12, and I was 12 in 1992. So, at the very beginnings of this golden era, right? Or depending on how people gauge it. So, a lot of things that happened in 93, 94, 95, 96, 97 were extraordinarily important, I guess, culturally to me and in the time frame in which I grew up. And for me being in high school through most of the 90s, the music that was a backdrop to that period is kind of like the soundtrack of that particular era in my life. So I thought about this the other day as I was consuming more content about more things coming up with Diddy and then it tying into Jay-Z, which I'll get to in a minute. And I just kind of felt like, my childhood is ruined. Even though, going back to what I said, I always had this weird feeling about Puffy. And I started taking music seriously by the time I was like 14. I was always in chorus all throughout high school. I mean, our chorus was fantastic. Let me toot my chorus's horn. Archbishop Prendergast High School, we had an amazing chorus and we did some amazing shows. Not just on our own, we performed with famous people. Peebo Bryson, Roberta Flack, Paul Anka, Rosemary Clooney. Some of y'all might not even know who these people are. But our biggest show was Kenny Rogers, my senior year. I actually got inducted into my high school Hall of Fame along with the other girls that sang with him. But it was interesting to have this sort of life where took choral stuff seriously, but then was pursuing rap. By the time I was out of high school and I had more time to dedicate towards pursuing a career in the music business, I have recorded multiple tracks. I had like a press kit and a demo, and I used to travel about, and this is so interesting how this ties into Puffy too, because we're talking about the 90s, late 90s into early 2000s music scene in Philly. Philadelphia is an amazing musical town. And I just happened to be pursuing music at a time frame where there was so much going on. I used to do open mics religiously. I used to do the Black Lily at the 5 spot. I'm not sure how many people know about that. That was an event, a weekly event hosted or started by The Roots. And let me tell you, the people that came through there, Bilal, Jill Scott, Kindred, the Family Soul. This is all like neo soul type stuff around that time, right? Even Jaguar Wright was there. I'll get back to her in a minute. I felt honored and privileged to be in the company of so many talented people. Just, we're all at the same open mic, and those people to then move on to have record deals. Jill didn't just sing, she acts. Like, there's so much stuff. It blows my mind to think that I was in the mix in the Philadelphia music scene at that time. And I remember one of my cousins used to work for BET and knew a lot of different people, and so did her husband. And I'll never forget when my press kit was final, and we're sending it out to different people, and I gave one to my cousin and her husband, and they're like, "Oh, such and such works for Bad Boy. You want us to send your press kit to them?" And I remember internally, I got this, I had always had this bad feeling about Puffy. And as the years had gone on, especially when artists would come out about what a raw deal he would give them, like he was literally robbing people in the contracts, it started to become clear why. Now, my intuition and everything within me said that. However, when you're seeking a record deal, you're going to be like, no. I'm glad nothing ever came of that, but just to think of how I felt. I remember even as years went on, by the time different reality shows started being very popular, like Making the Band, I used to religiously watch that with my mate at the time. And when Puffy had people walking for cheesecake with him, we had kind of a little debate, or for him, we had a debate about that, like, would you do it? And the part of me that feels like if an artist was pursuing a record deal, yeah, they would do that. But would I want to do it? No, because I wouldn't have wanted to be involved with him at all. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and pretend like I'm some kind of oracle. I'm a fantastic astrologer. But I wouldn't say I'm so damn psychic that, I just knew it. But in retrospect, that should have taught me how much I could trust my inner compass, especially as a person. We're going to talk about human design a little bit here. I am a generator. I'm an emotional generator, so there's an extra added component too. But like, I'm supposed to wait for a or and if one don't come, I gotta wait it out. The fact that even before I knew what human design was back then, my body was alerting me. That would have been a no-go with him. I think that's so fascinating. However, as more and more stuff comes out regarding Puffy, and we're all kind of awaiting the trial that's coming in May 2025, I believe, so much stuff is coming out. So much stuff is coming out from so many different people. It is really difficult to know what to believe. And now that I've started talking about this, I think this is going to, I said at the beginning I wasn't sure because there were so many things I was going to talk about. But I think I'm going to focus on the Saturn and Pisces and it having to do particularly with a lot of the things that are coming out. Now, another thing to think about with Saturn and Pisces is if Saturn is also taking things seriously, Saturn is also consequences. That's why people get so scared when Saturn comes up. They hear they're having a Saturn transit. If they hear Saturn at all, a lot of people, ooh. Saturn's the ruler of my moon. I respect it. However, I understand why people get scared of Saturn. And in the case that I'm about to speak of the energy of Saturn and Pisces, I think it's even more important for us to take Saturn seriously. Why? Well, Saturn is consequences. We could literally look at this. Saturn, consequences, Pisces, music industry. With this in mind, it feels like this year flew by, right? So we'll blink and it'll be May 2025. But right now, people are impatient. They're chomping at the bit. They are waiting for new revelations to come out. There's all sorts of interviews on YouTube about people who are saying that they were a part of freak-offs, that they had involvement. But there's also been some people who have been lying. Stretching the truth, casting an illusion. Saturn wants to put a stop to that shit too. So I wanted to talk about some of that. I mean, this kind of sounds like I'm discussing like some news, which I don't think I usually do, but I probably will do more. Because no matter what it is that we bring up, you can find astrology in any and everything. And because you can find astrology in any and everything, why not the current events? I know that's not always my focus, but this is so important. I think we should discuss it. Now, under this energy, with all the things that have come out about Puffy and that will continue to come out about him, I want to discuss something rather important. Now, we seem in general these days as a society, especially in America, to be so fucking polarized. I already did an episode about polarization, especially political polarization, but polarized in general, that I am literally left with my mouth agape listening to how ridiculous people sound. I say this because people seem to forget that A, more than one thing can be true at a time. And B, that you don't have to always live at extremes. C, we really don't have the right to act like we know these celebrities. What I mean by that is you can speculate on whether you think somebody did something or not, but you don't know. You have no way to prove it. You don't have any way to disprove it either. And a lot of the conversations that I see that are surrounding these allegations coming out, oh my God, it does not give me hope in the humans that I say I have love for. It really doesn't. I'm like, we can't be this dumb. Can we? Let me pull me back from that. That's me doing Pisces shit. I understand we're all connected, but I ain't dumb. I know a lot of y'all ain't dumb, but I am seeing the stupidest shit. Now, number one, I know I'm bouncing all around the place. Another Mercury and Pisces trait. What's fairly disgusting overall is anybody that would lie about their being victimized by any of the musicians that are accused right now. If it did not happen and you are lying about it, you are doing nothing but hurting victims. And particularly if you're a female making these accusations, you're hurting women. You are hurting the fuck out of us. Should we take allegations seriously? Yes. But I can't unequivocally tell you that someone's guilty of doing something. I can tell you what I've seen, what I've read, what I've heard, what I've absorbed that may make me lean one way or the other. But the fact that people are speaking in such a definitive stance about stuff they have no idea whether it's true or not is laughable at worst, sad at best. We don't know these people. We just don't. And sometimes even when you do know people, you have no idea what happened in particular situations. It's just a little weird to me that people are like, oh, he did it. Oh, no, he didn't do it. They just trying to pull him down. But I did want to also throw into there, because I mentioned some lying, because I've been seeing it happen. There was a young lady. I don't know if some of y'all saw this photo circling around. I think it's in a studio, and there's a young lady and her face is blanked out, and I think she's sitting on Puffy's lap. There was a girl that had come out, a woman who had come out on YouTube and said that she was in the picture. She was also in a part of stuff. And I just seen it come out the other day that she made that up. I'm like, what? Like, do people want to be seen so bad that they're willing to relegate themselves as victims that they're not? Do they want a payday? Like, what is it? They're hurting people who have actually been harmed. I've even seen people say stuff like, so, okay, I guess the statute of limitations was up. Cassie's only recourse would be to go after Diddy in a civil way. Now, I am not trying to say that money fixes things. I am not trying to say that money makes up for everything that he did to that woman. But I am going to say that I do not have a problem watching victims be able to get something for their suffering. And the fact that there are people on this earth walking around screaming, see, if you want money for your suffering, then that means you didn't really suffer. You just wanted a payday. Get the fuck out of here. Get the entire fuck out of here. Because when I put myself in that woman's shoes, if I had been in her shoes, maybe I wouldn't have done things the same way. Who knows? But if I had to do anything to make sure that motherfucker got punished, I'd have did the same thing. And I can't imagine what it has to feel like to be her. To have people saying all this sideways shit. That man blew up Kid Cudi's car, allegedly, because he was interested in her. So the danger extended past just her. Anybody that wanted to be involved with her. It's disgusting that people are like, oh no, if she got money, that means it didn't happen. Shut up. But what adds to people thinking that are the people that lie for money. It's terrible. Then also, I brought up how when I was in the music scene, I would go to the open mics at the 5 spot for the Black Lily event that used to be there. And first of all, y'all, I wish my brain had a video recorder in it back then so I could have captured the amazing performances I saw from Bilal. Jill Scott, before she was signed. Yo, every week she used to do this song where at the end she wanted to hype the audience up. I know this is a sidebar. And would be like, I can do anything. And it was just like something to pull the audience together. I remember one night she showed up and she was like, I didn't know what hat I was going to wear tonight, so I wore two. Just, she had such a presence. She has a beautiful voice and talent. I wish I could have recorded that. And another one that stands out to me so big is Jaguar Wright. Jag, let me tell you, when it came to the 5 spot and the Black Lily, she would come in and show out. I remember there was one particular evening when she came up to the mic. She was on the phone. So, and this had to be like 1998, 1999. So, we didn't have phones nowhere near like what we have now. However, she was like, yeah, it was, she incorporated being on the phone into her performance. She said she was on phone with her dude and, they were having a little tiff. And so she just starts kind of freestyle singing on the spot. And it was amazing. I was so thrilled when Jag got signed and put out her album. One of the songs she used to sing all the time, I think it's called Ain't Nobody Playing. What you think this a game? Ain't nobody playing. That was the shit. And part of it was, ooh, boy, you done fucked up now. You done really, really fucked up now. I don't know if the album version has fuck in it, but I was so excited to see this woman, especially, I'm a Philadelphian. I love to see my Philly people get on. And then after that, her doing Unplugged with Jay-Z. Philly pride beaming, right? Now, as of 2020, when the world was on lockdown, I first discovered a lot of people's channels I hadn't never seen before, including Nosy Ho. And she had Jag on there, a lot of other people. She was one of the first people to bring Jennifer Huh, who was the victim of Nicki Minaj's husband, Kenneth Petty, on her show. And I kind of felt like, you know, that time frame was a fascinating time. People were tuned in more to things going on online because we couldn't be outside. I mean, some people were still outside, but, you know, collectively. And that was the beginning of me being like, oh shit, Jag, yes. And she would be spilling things about the entertainment industry. And people were like, do you believe the things that she said? And, you know, I'm the sort of person that anything anybody says, I'm going to take it at face value when you say it, but I'm going to filter it through my bullshit detector. And it's not like I turn the bullshit detector on or off. It just is. But the thing is, a lot of the times, even when you're going by your bullshit detector, sometimes it's not going to go off until later. So, you know, I'm supporting this woman. She's from my city. I'm just like, yes. I've had the privilege of, you know, being at the same open mic spots as her. Just, I was listening over time because after she started speaking up and out after COVID, I feel like I watched something happen that I didn't think would. This will make sense in a minute. So, yes, people love to hear insider secrets about stuff. They do. People love to get a behind-the-scenes look at things. That's the allure. Like, we're finding out information we would not otherwise know. I get it. However, that is also an opportunity for somebody to go, okay, yeah, I'm spilling all these beans, but I got to keep it going. Some things have to be sensationalized, you know? And I get that people can sometimes take the truth and put a spin on it because they want to seem more interesting, but it seems like this is going on at a level that it shouldn't. Now, recently, Jay-Z has been accused of SA as well, along with Puffy in the civil case. Now, as per what I've been seeing thus far, please do not look at me like an expert on this particular news. I'm only going by, you know, what I've seen on social media or in my news feeds. But some of you may have heard this 13-year-old said that during the MTV Music Awards, whatever year this was, that she had a friend drive her down there. She didn't have tickets to get in the VMAs, but somehow she wind up talking to a limo driver who said she would be what Puffy was looking for, winds up at an after party, gets drugged, allegedly, and is R-worded by Jay-Z and Puffy. And then how she went to a gas station and called her dad and asked him to pick her up. Now, okay, that's the information we initially got. There's been more information that's been coming out where it's like, oh, well, she lived 5 hours away from NYC. That's kind of a long drive to ask somebody to take you on. And let me preface this. I am not saying don't believe the victim. I'm giving background for a reason. And yes, this does tag into Jag. So there's new questions. There was an interview with her. She wouldn't show her face, and I understand. But there was an interview with her asking different things. They even talked to her father, who says he doesn't recall her calling him that evening to come pick her up. And if you figure, people are saying this, what, a 5-hour drive? I could be wrong. I should have looked it up before I started recording. But you would remember if you had to drive 3+ hours to get your daughter and then 3+ hours back. So people are looking at this like, what's going on? Now, the lawyer that is representing this young lady, this is why I had to bring that up. The lawyer that is also representing this young lady represents multiple people who have who are going to come out against Diddy. Tony Busby, I believe his name is. Now, I just caught wind of something yesterday that had me go, oh God, Saturn and Pisces got to come through and do its thing. It was retrograde for a little while, which I think kind of made people forget that it does not play. Okay, it's retrograde kind of was like a reprieve. Like, now also Neptune is in Pisces right now too. But the retrograde of Saturn was almost like, I describe it kind of like a slowdown, I guess, a bit of Saturn working its way through Pisces. Now, Saturn is moving forward again, back over all the territory that it retrograded over. So a lot of things I think that people thought they could get away with, including lying, they thought they was cool. No, you're not. So, on with what I was saying. Apparently, now remember I told y'all, I've been listening to Jaguar as per her revelations about behind the scenes stuff since 2020, I believe. 2020, 2021. I remember hearing her listening to a stream where she said, that Jay-Z R-worded her. She said he put a gun to her head and told her to sing while she was being R-worded. I remembered hearing that, right? And I also remember seeing a live where she said that she has an older son who's now deceased, who was murdered. And I recalled her saying that Jay-Z had something to do with his murder. And I was like, huh? So, okay. I heard these things before these new allegations against Diddy, Puffy, and Jay-Z came out, right? I tucked them in the back of my head. Because if someone has been trying to say there's so much stuff that's going to come out, or sharing some of their experiences behind the scenes in the music industry. I mean, she even said Common R-worded her or sexually assaulted her, right? So when the allegations against Jay-Z came out, even before that, she was on Piers Morgan and made allegations against Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then Jay-Z and Beyonce's lawyers was like, you're not going to be doing that. Like, you can't just be saying stuff that's not provable. And Piers Morgan took it down. But I'm bringing this up to say, I remember hearing this woman say that Jay-Z R-worded her. So I'm thinking to myself, now that some allegations are out, oh my gosh, she's probably going to lawyer up about what she alleges. That is not what's happening. Yesterday, I became aware of her in a recent live saying she didn't say that. And I watched somebody stream. What is his name? Sean whatever. He's hilarious. I love him. But besides being hilarious, he's truly an advocate for victims based on the things that he was saying. And, oh, here's what I forgot to mention. Jaguar also says that she is an advocate for victims. I've been hearing her say this since 2020. Please keep this in mind. Watching Sean's stream, he actually plays the footage that I remember hearing. I'm like, oh my God, yes. About her saying that Jay-Z R-worded her. And then he plays the footage of her saying that Jay-Z had something to do with her son Giovanni's death. Then he plays the footage that was recently recorded, where she says she didn't say that. That AI was used to take her words and make it sound like Jay-Z did something to her that he didn't do. First of all, let me tell y'all something. I know people are scared of AI. I get it. I have a respect for it. I found ways to use it to make my life easier, right? And I understand how much it's grown in the past 2 years, but this was during a live stream that she said this. There are literal comments scrolling while she was talking. So, how did somebody use AI to make it sound like you said something you didn't? No, you definitely said that. She said a lot. Now, if Jay-Z did, in fact, R-word her, why wouldn't she why wouldn't she file something against him at this point? Instead, what she did, which I found out yesterday, first of all, another lie. See the consequences of lying with Saturn direct? Like, we're finding out right away that some things were lies with some people. Essentially, she said that Tony Busby, the lawyer for a lot of the Puffy victims and for the current victim against Jay-Z, had contacted her. I found out that's not what happened. She contacted them and they called her back. Now, this particular, I'm going to put his name in the comments and link to the video. Not the comments, the description. Because it was just way too informative not to put out there. And since what the theme of this is shaping up to be, this discussion, is the halting of illusions, delusions, and other Piscean things. Don't be coming over here lying. Saturn's going to hold you accountable. She said they reached out to her. They didn't. Do you know this particular content creator contacted Tony Busby's law firm and sent them all the things that he played? Because since Jag went on Piers Morgan and made allegations against Jay-Z, and then Piers Morgan was threatened with a lawsuit by Jay-Z's lawyers, and he took it down. Hold on a second. Sorry, adjusting over here. That shows the potentiality that if Jag just kept talking, she could get sued too, right? So it would sound like if she's contacting Tony Busby's office, that would mean maybe she's looking at it like, oh, I'm going to need some legal representation. So this content creator is like, yeah, no, we're not going to have that happen, because she legitimately said that Jay-Z R-worded her. And if that's the case, why is she coming out now being like, oh no? So much lies, so much deceit. It's disgusting. Now, again, we're going to be still looking at this by the time the trial of Puffy comes up. However, what I wanted to say was, and this is something important, I know I just said a lot and there was a lot of information provided and stories and I went on tangents, but the bottom line is this. How do you protect yourself right now from getting caught up in the lies? Number one, remember it's a time period now where the planet of integrity, consequences, and responsibility is in the sign of casting a fog over things. If you remind yourself of this, I think what happens is you do yourself a good thing. That was a phrase that just sounded weird as hell. But you do yourself a service, because you're setting the notion in your head that, yeah, okay, during this time frame, things are going to be uncovered. That doesn't mean that people are going to stop lying or stop trying to lie. It's just the energies that are present right now are like, well, there's consequences for that. So before jumping to conclusions about things that really aren't solid yet, know it's coming. It's going to come out. As my mom used to say all the time, everything comes all out in the wash, and if not, in the rinse. You can almost play a game with yourself by looking at all the different things that pop up, especially as it pertains to any Piscean things. Movies would fit under there too, the movie industry. Look at it like, since Saturn is in the sign of those things right now, it's coming through auditing shit. It's like corporate has showed up and we're not playing no games. And sometimes when cleanups happen, when consequences have to be met, you can kind of think, oh, this person might get away with that. Like, think if you at a job, everybody knows who the fuck up is on their job. Everybody knows who the people who take, who cut corners are. The people that make collectively work harder. And maybe sometimes you can't do anything about it. I remember I worked someplace. Oh my God, I'm going to have to do a story time on that. I worked someplace that was run by a family. And unfortunately, they had a bunch of kids. Well, I'm not saying it's unfortunate that they had a bunch of kids in general. But many of the children that they had were really on bad drugs. So I remember having one of the druggiest of them all be put in charge of my department. But she's nodding off because she's on something. Well, you can't really tell on her. She's the boss's daughter. And the boss knows she nods off on stuff and still put her in this position. Right? Imagine you work somewhere with somebody like that, and the only way for consequences to actually befall them will be for the top person to come through, right? So that's Saturn, like, coming through. There's a method to Saturn's madness. It doesn't care how long it takes for something to be achieved, how tough it may be to achieve said thing, it's going to do it. So as we're watching the happenings in the world right now, and I'm going to have to talk more about how Saturn and Pisces ties into different things. But in this particular case, please remember that people are not going to stop trying to pull the wool. Everybody's not going to stop trying to pull the wool over others' eyes. However, the universe is right now supporting the energy of that not being able to fly. So, yes, your discernment is important. Yes, trusting yourself is important. But also kind of train yourself not to get too caught up in trying to prove things you can't. We're still sifting through these Neptunian waters of Pisces. Saturn's making its way through. And in order to carefully do anything, you got to take your time. Please don't be quick to just fall for sensationalism, because ever since Diddy Puffy got locked up, every day on YouTube I'm seeing exclusive interviews with this person who says he did this and that person he said he does this. Now, granted, because there are criminal charges against this man, I assume that because of how our system works, he's going to have to sit there and have proof rendered or put out to prove the case against him. They're going to have to bring out facts. And that's not coming until May. So all this stuff in the interim, I'm not saying that anybody that may be a witness or a part of that case may not be out on the interwebs right now giving out certain tidbits of information, because that's possible. But there are people popping up that have nothing to do with stuff. We can't afford to allow ourselves to get caught up in sensationalism in such a way that we lose our own sense of integrity. And integrity says we're not going to levy claims, definitive claims against anybody that we can't prove that aren't true. Again, we don't know these people. And even if we did know them, do we know about the particular incidences? To hold space for victims, but at the same time realize that many people will pose as victims for money, for clout, for sympathy, for attention, for whatever. It's such a fine line to walk. Please do not be one of them people on the internet screaming definitively anything for a star that you kind of have a parasocial relationship with, but no real knowledge of their life. That is so stupid. And also, when people do come out and say things have happened to them, don't be one of those people that takes an extreme of just writing it off. The way I look at things is, there are things that I cannot prove, that I do not know definitively. I can only speculate. Speculation is different than declaring truth, especially when it's truth that you don't even know is truth. One of the things that you can do to navigate this transit well is to understand that in order to stay grounded through any sort of bullshit or turmoil, you have to work in integrity. Make sure you're doing your due diligence in that way. Focus on that. We don't even have to do the busy work of trying to point out where other people aren't integrous. We can. There's cases when that can happen, but focus on you being integrous. See, yeah, Saturn can feel like a punishing planet, but Saturn doesn't necessarily seek to punish. If you act in integrity, Saturn rewards you. Now, conversely, if you don't act in integrity, Saturn's coming for you. Please just remind yourself when you're seeing what you see, and so many people want to be involved because it's a way to get attention or money, that if they're not working in integrity, it's going to work against them. Saturn's also the planet of time and karma. I'm saying this because I cannot stand to see people writing these epistles on the Blue app or anywhere else where they are speaking indefinites as if they have all the information necessary to be able to condemn or not hold accountable any of these celebrities. Worry about yourself. Focus on you. Yes, you can pay attention to the noise and the news and everything that's going on, but make sure you're holding yourself accountable and don't cut corners. See, another iteration that we could look at Saturn being in Pisces is making your dreams real. Pisces dreams, Saturn's reality. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are having their bubbles bursted. There's nothing wrong with imagination. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, anything that exists started in somebody's mind, in their imagination. However, there is such a thing as a dream just being a dream. If the work, time, energy, effort, and integrity aren't put in, then it does not materialize. And the interesting thing about Saturn, and you could say thus Capricorn energy, that's devil card energy. This is master manifester energy, making things real. Why do people make deals with the devil? Because he can make things real. So, if you can find a way to honor yourself, your dream, and your integrity by doing your due diligence, not taking shortcuts, putting in the time, energy, and effort to that which you want to see in reality that is coming from what you dream of, that would be the best way to spend your energy. Don't allow yourself to get derailed, interrupted by, or distracted, or for it to get you fucked up enough in your head that you think that you can call things. Let the shit run its course. We're all held accountable. Saturn holds us all accountable, no matter what sign it's in. But in this particular sign, we are seeing it go through the music and movie industry. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. We can talk about more of that in the future, because I feel like I done just talked. Quick announcements and different things. We hit 250,000 followers on the Spiritual Gangsta Certified Facebook page. I can't tell you how stoked I am about that. I started Spiritual Gangsta Certified in 2018. I started my Facebook following over there and lost my page the same year. I had to start all over again. And I was so frustrated. And when I think about how mad I was about that, I didn't think I could recover. But I decided, despite the disappointment, which is also a Saturn word, I was going to work, a Saturn word, and build my dream, Pisces, again. Now seeing it continue to flourish is really exciting for me. If you're not over there on the Spiritual Gangsta Certified Facebook page, please join me. I was going to drop the TikTok, but I keep hearing that January 19th is the due date they're giving TikTok to be taken off of the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And I'm like, oh, should I even be making content for over there? We'll see. But in an effort to really dig my heels down further into this beautiful thing that I created as a means of sharing spiritual, astrological, and other knowledge, I want to interact with everybody more. So I'm planning a slumber party get together. No, it's not going to be in person for all participants, but I want to create something that will all still feel connected, even though it's done virtually. Please be on the lookout for more information about that to come in January. I know we're under a lot of interesting energy now. And I know it's not easy for people to navigate, but please try to remember, integrity means you keep your word. And if you are unable to keep your word, you let it be known. Integrity means you're not saying one thing out one side of your face and behind someone's back another thing. Integrity is a standard by which, if you live it, you will improve not only your life, but the lives of the people around you. Be a person of your word. Be a person of integrity. That's always going to be a Saturn lesson. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back with another episode soon. Peace.